Well, Service Crew B, it's been about a month since this all began. Time sure flies, huh?
Yeah, hard to believe.
I can't even begin to think about how cool everything has been since coming here. You know, being able to play games, do some manga study, even just talk like we're doing right now.
Yeah, hard to believe.
You know, I've been wondering though, since I've come here, I haven't really gotten to take the old plane out and fly at all. Thing's been under repair all month. What gives? I mean, you guys have been scrounging up spare parts the entire time, right? Surely you got enough to get the old girl air ready again. I mean, it's not like you're taking them to some third party and using them as a form of currency with which to interact with me whenever I'm lounging around gaming. That'd just be weird, right?
Yeah, hard to believe.
Anyway, I just wanted to say thanks, because clearly the job's a lot tougher than I expected it would be.
No problem, Chief. Say, wait a minute. If we've been repairing your plane the entire time, what does it mean in your schedule when you're sorting then?
Great question, Service Crew. Say, speaking of questions, have you seen any good movies lately? Hello, everyone. Fighting Pilot Ace Windfall Extraordinaire at your service. It's still very hot. I always want to take a sip of the tea right after I make it, and it always burns my tongue. And I always regret doing it, but gosh dang if I don't need something to do. What's up, Daya? Howdy, howdy. Welcome. Happy Saturday, depending on time zone. Still hot. Still good, though. Have you been? Today we're just going to be talking about movies. We're going to be talking about just... I enjoy movies. I finally made... It's been one of my life's goals the last couple months or so to go out and... well, not really even go out. I have an old PC tower that's just been sitting in my closet for the longest time. And I had the bright idea, was it like a couple months back, I want to say, to go take it out of storage, and I can just slap it and hook it up to the TV in my living room, in the hangar's living room, right? The break room. So I finally was able to pull it out of storage, and I finally was able to hook it up. And when I first did, I guess it's just a thing that happens whenever a computer sits around for a while, especially when it's using a traditional hard drive, is that it started up fine, but then everything was broken, and so you had to run check disk on it, which took like a couple hours. I just ended up just lying on the floor while it was doing it. It was really nice. But eventually I got it up and working. It looks like it should be good, so I can hopefully now use it as both a Blu-ray player to watch stuff and also to be able to do like media streams for things that are not just like Netflix or YouTube. Like I can do stuff that's not typically available. Pretty cool, right? But I only got that working, I think I finished it yesterday. So, but before that, I was mostly doing like Netflix and like occasionally YouTube, YouTube Movies has some free stuff. And then also, of course, the cinema, the theater itself. So I did that as well. Disney Plus. I technically don't have any of the accounts. Technically, they're in my family's name. I am just freeloading. But I do have Disney Plus. I've only ever done The Simpsons on Disney Plus, which that's great. I love it. That's a good. Speaking of that, though, like Disney Plus has The Simpsons, which I absolutely love. And I know when it first got added, they only had they took it and they did like an HD restoration on it, and they turned it into like when the Simpsons originally aired, when like the golden era of the Simpsons is like when it's standard definition, 4:3, very boxy like format. And I guess when they first put on Disney Plus, they wanted to take and do what's the word? They wanted to like do an HD remaster of it, and so they cut it up and made it 16:9, but that ruined a lot of like the comedy shots on it. I think the big one that like drew attention to it is there's a scene when they're touring the Duff beer brewery, and I think there's like a pipe that's supposed to be going, and then it splits off in 3 ways, and it goes into like Duff, Duff Light, and Diet Duff, something weird like that. And the joke is that they all come from the same like pipe. But that got cut off because they changed the resolution of it. Yeah, the aspect ratio, you've seen that. And the reason I bring this up is one of the things I've been watching, not a movie, but I've been watching Seinfeld recently. AI Seinfeld has made me take the plunge to actually like go out and watch actual Seinfeld, because it's just one of those cultural touchstones, and I've been told repeatedly that I think I would find it funny, which I do, and I'm really glad. I'm enjoying it quite a lot. But I've noticed Seinfeld on Netflix is also in 16:9 for some reason, and I don't think Netflix is gonna change that, because that's been around like that for a while. What's up, Mako? Yeah, real Seinfeld. I upgraded. AI Seinfeld was a good like ease in, and now it's time for the real deal. You take your like floaty wings off. It's time to go into the big boy pool with Jerry and Costanza, Elaine, and Kramer. He was named Kessler in the pilot. That was really weird to like go and like look up the stuff for that. B-movie next. I've seen B-movie, I want to say twice. I don't know why I've seen it twice. I think it was just because it was, you know, the meme movie. I feel like you have your own agenda for recommending me B-movie, but but B-movie's good. Oh, it's also Jerry Seinfeld. I didn't even think about that. It all comes together. It's the Seinfeld cinematic universe. Oh my god. What's in the Seinfeld? It's AI Seinfeld, it's normal Seinfeld, it's B-movie. Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, I think he does that. What's the Avengers of the Seinfeld cinematic universe? Is it Comedians in Cars, probably? Just because that has everyone. It's like Smash Bros. Ultimate, they're all together, finally. But no, like, Seinfeld is also in 16:9, and I was like, oh, I'm worried about this, and I looked it up, and apparently there are the same issues that, like, The Simpsons in 4:3 has, that Seinfeld in 16:9 will also experience. One of them is, there's an episode where Costanza is, like, rallying against, you know, there's a pothole on the street, and apparently they've cut it in such a way that the pothole does not actually appear in the titular episode, The Pothole, which is a shame. It's just like, what? I don't get the idea of messing with like an aspect ratio. I mean, I understand it. People have their widescreen monitors, their widescreen TVs, and they want to fill the whole thing. Sure, far be it from me. But like, I would much rather take the bars on the sides of the screen. It's either cut it or stretch it. You can just leave the bars on the screen. I think that should be the thing. Stretching it's stretching is a little bit funny. I kind of like that idea, because then you don't lose anything, but then everything just becomes really wide, like the wide Putin gif. Stretching, it's a really funny solution to it. If Netflix gave me the option, they're like, we don't want you to have 4:3. You can either have it in squash or stretch, or like cut or stretch. I would take stretch though, because I think that would just inherently add more comedy to it, and you would get to see the pothole. Chris Rock is in B-movie, so you need to watch Everyone Hates Chris next. Wait, is that about Chris Tucker? I know. I think I've only heard the name Everyone Hates Chris. I don't know if I know anything about it. Everyone Hates Chris. 2005 sitcom. Oh, that's a good. Oh, it's about young Chris Tucker, or Chris Rock. Excuse me. I don't know why I. It's about young Chris Rock. That's right. Because as soon as I looked it up just now, and I see that Terry Crews is in here as his like father, and that's what the famous Terry Crews has, like, someone got the credit card with Terry Crews' face on it to remind them not to spend money. That's right. 2005 sitcom. Wow. When did Seinfeld end? Does it all add up? 1989, 9 seasons. 1998 is when it ended. I need something to fill the 98 to 2005 gap if I'm doing that. Because there can't be any breaks on the Seinfeld universe train, so we'll have to look up a sitcom that aired from 1998 to 2005 to fit that in. Preferably something with Jason Alexander or Julie Louis-Dreyfus. Bob Odenkirk's in Seinfeld? I don't know if he's recurring, or he's definitely not in the current season I'm looking at, but he's showing up on the cast list for some reason. Yeah, Seinfeld aside, going back to like the 4x3 thing, I think like 4x3 is fine, and transition. What's the word? Segue. A great example of that is on Netflix. You can go watch Psycho, the like iconic, the classic thriller movie Psycho, 1960. Not the remake, like the way that Hitchcock intended. Was it Hitchcock? Wait. No, it's Psycho 1960. It's Alfred Hitchcock Psycho, right? Yes, Alfred Hitchcock. Okay, good. Whew. You saw it at school? What? Like the actual 1960? Was it like for like a film class? Why would you? Out of all the movies, drama. Okay, that works. Wow, that's surprising that they would show that. I guess in a college class, but. Or was in like high school? Like whatever I think school, I think high school, but like wow. Holy shit, that's cool. I guess, and I was kind of thinking about this when I was watching it. Like compared to like something modern day, there's not that much violence. Like I was actually surprised during this entire free chat's gonna have spoilers for the movies we're talking about, by the way. So pause this, go watch Psycho. Come back and watch the VOD in 2 hours. Okay, spoiler warning. or don't. But like, there's the iconic scene. This isn't even a spoiler. Everyone knows this one. The iconic like shower stab scene, where Mother comes and kills what you think is going to be the protagonist of the movie, which she kind of is for the first third of the movie. And like it. Like you see all the like parodies, everything gets brought up, but it's just like, and like the blood swirls down the shower drain. But like it's not actually that bloody. It's like surprising. It's pretty tame. So like yeah, I could see that like in a modern day, like you could honestly show that in school. It's kind of fucked up, yeah. Only like 10 students then sign up. Okay, yeah. For like a smaller, especially if it's like a drama club or like a class like that, usually they get a little bit more, you get to like choose your curriculum a little bit like closer, and usually the school doesn't care as much because it doesn't have to wrangle like match this curriculum for like everyone. That's cool that you got to see it then. I also wanted to watch Carrie, but that's where the teacher drew the line. I have not seen Carrie, but I could see, like, Psycho, not that much blood, not that, like, actually violent, I would argue, compared to current ones, but, like, yeah, Carrie, from what I understand, like, that's the entire one where, she gets, like, the pig's blood on her and everything. That in and of itself is one thing. And then I think it's a lot of... I think there's a fair amount of murder in it. It showed you the prom scene anyway. Because we were discussing bullying, so... Oh, yeah. Having not seen it, I obviously can't, like, give a full, perfect, like, thoughts on it, but... Yeah, it does seem to be a pretty big theme of the movie. That's surprising. I figured... I guess the prom scene is, like, the big scene in it. You should go watch Carrie. For next time. $1976. I think it's a Stephen King based one too. Yeah, yeah, based on Carrie by Stephen King. Cool. He's got some good. Stephen King's a wild man. Writes so many things. Unrelated. I didn't watch this movie this week. This is an old movie of mine. I don't know why I say of mine. This is an old movie I watched. It's not even an old movie. It's been a while since I've seen it. Like, I think it's mid 2010s. Gerald's Game. Make sure I get the name right, because there's not to be confused with the Pixar short, which I think is called Jerry's Game. Yeah, Gerald's Game. What's up, Nukiashi? Howdy. We're talking about Gerald's Game right now. But like, Gerald's Game is a Stephen King based movie, and I really enjoy it because it's all just set in one room effectively, and it's one character in one room for like 80% of the movie, and stuff like that. Like, character driven stuff is super duper interesting. Heard about it, but you haven't seen it. I would, if you get the chance. I think it's still on Netflix. I think I saw it when I was flipping through stuff early in the week. It's not high art. It's not like gonna change your life, but if you're in the mood to watch like a woman chained up in her bed for like an hour and a half. Okay, no, not in like a weird way. Though, yeah, I guess it is in a weird way. But like, sounds like the weekend. It's an interesting movie. It's really like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you were trapped in this situation, what could you do to solve the issue, right? Which I think is what makes it interesting. It's one character in one room, chained to the bed because her husband has died, and it's like, how do you survive? Like, what can you do? Just lie there and die. But we're humans. We need to like survive. We need to like do the impossible. We need to see the invisible. I think it's important to like, I like the human spirit of things, like not just giving up and dying. And so like seeing someone trying to struggle and survive in weird situations is what gets me going. It's like, yeah, you survived that, girl. But then the ending is really weird because Stephen King's ending is really weird. It's not even weird, actually. It's just weird. Weird is like, I don't even want to say it's giving like credit or not. It's just like, it's a Stephen King ending. I think that's the best way I can put it. I don't think I can put it any other way. It's just like, that is a Stephen King ending. Going off on a minor, going even further away from Psycho, by the way. Looking at the Gerald's Game thing, it's directed by Mike Flanagan, who did that. But then Mike Flanagan is also, I would definitely recommend this. If anyone's looking for something on Netflix that isn't Gerald's Game, that is like something else interesting, I can't recommend enough. He did Haunting of Hill House first and foremost. If you like Haunting of Hill House, you might also like this. It's a mini series called Midnight Mass. I want to say it's like 8 episodes, and it's his own. I want to say it's his own thing. Let me look real quick. I want to say I think he's the writer director. It says he's program creator. So I don't know if he wrote like the individual episodes or what, but I think he's like the one who's like designing it. And I don't want to get into like it too much because it's definitely something that you kind of want to go in blind, but it's all set on this tiny island out like on like the East Coast and like New England-ish, like in Stephen King country, but it's all on like this tiny little desolate fishing island, and it's all just about like, because it's a tiny little New England fishing island, and it's just like the community is dying effectively, and just like shrinking and shrinking, and just this pastor comes and it's like, I want to bring a new life into this world, into this dying community, and like what he does to like try to do that. But it's extremely interesting the way that it devolves, and it's a lot about like, you know, a dying community, but also like change and how would you put it? I don't know. It's just really, really interesting. I would love to talk about this more, but it's I don't know how many people have seen it, so it's just, I just want to get that one out there and just say go see that. So to talk about something that I can like actually spoil, because it's been out for 63 years. Going back to Psycho, yeah, Psycho is just like, it's interesting. And unlike Midnight Mass, I knew the major twists going into Psycho, right? Everyone knows the shower stabbing. Everyone knows that one. People who don't watch movies like just know it because it's just an extremely iconic scene. So like you build up this female protagonist early, and then she gets at the Bates Motel, the iconic Bates Motel. And like eventually she's taking a shower and you're like, oh, wait a minute. And so you kind of know that that's gonna happen. Depending, you might forget, but just like that was in the back of my head the entire time. And I wish I so wish that I could like go in not knowing that twist, because it's just like it's building her up as a protagonist, and the way that it does it is so good. I honestly like, my favorite bit was while it was building her up, there was just, I think it was at least 2 scenes of her just driving while there was dialogue going on of people talking about her. Because it's like showing her like driving, trying to escape. So the early plot of the movie is, there is, let me look up names. Marion Crane, I want to say. Yeah, Marion Crane is like, she's an up and comer in the world. She's been working at this like real estate firm for the last like 10 years. One day, her boss comes in with this like, you know, cowboy looking entrepreneur, like oil baron kind of guy. He's like, I'm buying a house for my daughter. I'm gonna pay all in cash. Here's the cash. We're gonna buy it. And the real estate business owner is saying like, no, we can't do this today. Clearly you're drunk. We'll hold on to the money over the weekend, and then we can like finish this transaction, you know, on Monday. Marion, why don't you take this money and, you know, throw it in the bank? Because Marion's been working there for like 10 years. Clearly like nothing is gonna go wrong. But no, something does go wrong. Marion sees that money, her eyes light up, you know, they turn into giant green dollar bill signs, and she goes and she takes the money and runs. Very girl boss of her. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. That's what Marion Crane did. She just took the money, she goes and she just drives out of town with it. And the first time she's driving out of town, you just get like this dialogue of like people going like, have you seen Marion? No, I haven't seen her. She said she was feeling sick. Like, oh, did she show up for work? No, she hasn't shown up for work yet today. And like, it doesn't cut back to the characters that are actually saying. It's just showing like Marion's like reaction. And part of it is you don't really like know if this is actually playing out or if this is in her head. Realistically, it's both, but it's just like it's showing like how nervous and how just like, oh, I'm so just like, I'm scared, I'm frightened this entire time. Eventually, she winds up at the Bates Motel where she meets Norman Bates, or the titular psycho. And then at that point, you kind of get like, it's kind of a back and forth where they're kind of sharing protagonist duties in the scene where Norman brings her into like the back room of the motel and they're having like dinner, because it's really like giving you a lot of information on Norman through Marion, like the way that he's asking questions and the way that he's like showing off his birds and things like that. And then eventually the iconic shower scene happens, and that's when like Marion's out, Marion's dead. You've lost your protagonist. Protagonist privileges revoked, and you're kind of like just floating there. You're like, what? At that point, it's just like, so now what? And it kind of shifts to then, there's an inspector, there's a detective, Detective Milton Arbogast. Arbogast, yeah. Like, he starts to, like, take up protagonist duties a little bit, because it's like, okay, what happened to Marion? Now Milton's gonna go into what eventually becomes the meat grinder. He goes and, like, checks it out, and, like, Norman's, like, playing all coy and everything. And at this point, this introduces the second, like, thing, which I unfortunately knew this one as well. Most people know the shower stab scene. Not as many people, I would argue, know the like, major twist of who Mother is. Because, like, when you get to the Arbogast part, Arbogast is like, okay, I'm talking to Norman Bates, I'm trying to find more about Marion Crane. What about, I see this gal in the window up in the Bates mansion. That must be Mrs. Bates. I gotta go talk to Mrs. Bates. And, like, that kind of starts its own mystery of, like, who is Mrs. Bates? Because you see, it's not Norman that, like, killed Marion. It looks like it's someone in a woman's dress. It's Mother that killed Marion Crane. So it's like, oh, Arbogast wants to go see Mother. Arbogast wants to go see the actual person who's the murderer. Norman's just covering for her. And so there's a lot of back and forth. And you as the audience, if you haven't seen this before, you're thinking like, oh, Norman's just covering for the mother. Eventually, Arbogast like breaks in, wants to go talk to the old woman. And then that is a really good scene where he goes up the stairs. She comes out the like side with the knife, gets him. He falls down the stairs. Really cool, iconic scene. But then boom, protagonist 2 dead. And now you're like, what's going on here? So then Lila and Sam, the boyfriend of Marion and like the friend of, or the sister of Marion, kind of like, they take up protagonist roles. And then they go to the Bates Motel. And that's kind of where, you know, luckily for them, they survive. And they find out the mystery of who Mother is. And it turns out Mother is a corpse. And Norman has been just... he's lost it. Mother's been dead for years at that point. And Norman's just been so, like, damaged. It turns out that he, in the end, was the one who actually killed Mother, as opposed to it being a suicide like people thought. And he's just been talking to himself. And, like, Mother and Norman are, like, two different personalities, like, trying to fight and take control of this. And anytime that Norman, like, starts to become, like, attractive to someone, Mother takes over and, like, kills in a fit of jealous rage, because that's what Norman did to his mother. So clearly Mother would do the same thing to Norman, is what, you know, he's thinking. But Lila and Sam, the sister and boyfriend, are able to find this out, like, that Norman was the one that killed him. They put him into custody. And honestly, when you find that out, I expected, like, the movie to end. But the fact that the movie continued on for another 10, 15, 20 minutes, something like that, I thought was really good. Because, like, I'm thinking, like, in a movie, you know, they find out, oh my god, Mother's a corpse. She's been dead the entire time. And then Norman comes out trying to kill them, and they subdue Norman, and it's like, cut to credits. You can, like, cut to credits there. But they don't. And this feels like an old movie thing. It's something like it has a... I don't want to say epilogue, but it has like an actual de-escalation. I think it would have felt rushed too. And so that's why I'm glad they didn't do it. But I've seen so many movies where it's like they end there. They end at the high point. So I'm super glad they didn't end at the high point, and they gave you that de-escalation, that like going into things. And it gave me, it got like one of the best like scenes, honestly. After that, they cut to the police office, and there's a psychiatrist just giving like the entire backstory of Norman about how, you know, he created the mother persona in his head, and that Norman and Mother were basically like, you know, it was like 50-50 control, if not like more for Mother. And at the end, Mother has taken full control. And it then cuts to like a police officer comes in and is like, he's asking for a blanket. The psychiatrist says, yeah, give it to him. And they go and they give him a blanket, and it cuts to Norman, and he's just sitting there, blanket wrapped around him, with, he's not saying anything, but it's like a voiceover. It's like his mental thoughts. And it's not Norman talking. It's Mother talking. And it's Mother, like, saying that she took the blame because she didn't want anything to happen to her poor little Norman. And just, like, the way that it shows, like, how, I almost want to say, like, broken. I don't know if that's exactly the right word, but just, like, how far gone it is. And then it, the shot at the very end where it just shows him looking directly at the camera, and then like the slyest little like grin creeps across his face, because like I don't know, it's just the way that it ended there, I think made it so much better. Modern movies like have a big conflict and fights, when this one's pretty quick, so it's been rushed. I think I see what you mean, yeah. Like, instead of like a 10-minute action sequence, because the ending of this really was like 1 or 2 minutes in that, Lila finds the body and then Norman comes rushing at her with a knife, like, yeah, as opposed to like a giant climax with like, I don't know, like a Marvel style like action scene. Yeah, you definitely get to have that more like subdued psychiatric evaluation into just the Norman, like almost soliloquy-esque shot. It's so good. Like, that is, and that one's on Netflix. I'm actually surprised that was on Netflix. It's like it's so. I'm surprised more movies aren't on Netflix, and I'm really upset that more movies aren't public domain yet. Like, what? This movie's 63 years old. Like, how is this not in the public domain? It's in black and white. It's so messed up. I don't think Citizen Kane is in the public domain yet either, which is messed up. Like, I need to see these culturally defining movies, dang it. They do like to own their copyright. And then, like, depending, like, if it's a franchise, they try to, like, you know, tease out a sequel or a remake to, like, keep control of the copyright then. It's a mess. But now that I've seen Psycho, I really want to go and watch Psycho 2, because I've heard Psycho 2, though, like, the idea of, like, a sequel to a movie like that is a little bit, it can be shaky. I've heard that Psycho 2 does its own thing, and in a good way, where it kind of examines, it's been, like, 10, 20 years, Norman's out of the asylum, and he's trying to reintegrate into society. I think is the general premise of it, and I've heard that it's a different movie because of that, but it's a really good movie, and I like that idea of, I like movies that focus on like 1 or 2 people, that just focus on like, you know, characters being characters, because I think that's what we like to see in media, is like characters and their growth. You know, what they're thinking. We want to root for them or root against them. My tea's cooled down. It's really nice now. Yeah, like that. Speaking of characters, I kind of mentioned, I kind of alluded to it earlier. One of the other movies I watched was Citizen Kane, the classic. The other, Psycho, Citizen Kane, both black and white movies, both 4x3, both good. And the thing with Citizen Kane is, I'm surprised how funny it was. Of course, this is another movie that, through cultural miasma, you kind of like know some bits about it already. For instance, I knew what Rosebud was before going into the movie, which is the spark for the entire movie, essentially, is that Francis Foster Kane, no, Charles Foster Kane, I don't know why I always want to say Francis Foster Kane, but Charles Foster Kane, this newspaper magnate, this newspaper guy, who, like, built an entire, you know, like, palace, effectively, in Florida, which he named Xanadu, riding off the coattails of Kublai Khan. Like, he died, and his last words were the words Rosebud. And like, they're doing, like, an obituary for him. They're doing, like, a newsreel, because this is, like, in the... I want to say this takes place in, like, the late 30s, 1930s. And so, like, you know, before, like, your movies and stuff, they run, like, the newsreels. And so they're doing, like, an obituary newsreel for it. And the person doing it is like, no, we gotta have some kind of more story on it. We can't just tell his life story. We can't just, like, tell the major beats. We want to know about the man. What were his last words? Rosebud Johnson. Go find out what Rosebud is. And so I didn't know what, like, all I knew was, like, I knew what Rosebud was, but I didn't know much else about it outside of that. So the fact that it has a shell story, it's not just following Charles Foster Kane's life. It has the shell story of news reporter trying to find out what Rosebud is, and as he goes and talks to different people, they're able to give him certain bits of Kane's life, like bit by bit by bit, which makes it interesting and refreshing. And it like every so often, it's like it cuts back to the framing device, the frame story, to, like, you know, give you like a break, give you like a breather in certain senses, or just, like, you know, give you more context on who's saying it. And you can, like, see how it's described in their telling, and then see what they've become now that it's been, you know, 30, 40 years later, now that they're old people describing the man that they once knew. It was a money cheat code on The Sims 1? I guess that kind of makes sense. He was a very rich man. That's such a weird... That's such a weird, like, cheat word for it, but it's one of those words that you don't really forget. Probably because it's associated with the movie. But the frame, like, yeah, I just didn't think, like, it had a frame story like that. It was really interesting. I wonder what other cheat codes are in Sims 1 that are references to, like, famous movies, or if it's just that one. But yeah, he's, like, trying to find out, you know, what is Rosebud. The news reporter is just, like, trying to figure out the entire time. And so he goes bit by bit, learning, like, bits and pieces about Charles Foster Kane's life. And, like, it's funnier than I thought it would be. I don't know why. Like, I didn't know what the movie was about going in. I knew it was about, you know, Charles Foster Kane and how he became, like, big, and then, you know, his life, effectively. But I wasn't expecting how funny it was. Like, let me pull up my notes. I wrote notes on this. Like, there's a part where, okay, so he comes up, he's, like, adopted by Like, his mother comes into money. His mother, like, finds oil or gold. I don't remember which one it is. And so the bank takes custody of Kane, of Charles. And so he grows up rich. He grows up, like, getting the best education, everything like that. He, like, is able to buy a newspaper, and then he turns the newspaper into, like, the best, you know, just becomes a newspaper empire. A newspaper monopoly, almost. And he decides, you know what, I'm going to run for office. Because it's about, like, power, and it's about, like, how Kane, as someone who was taken away from his parents at a young age, and then was raised by, like, a bank, like, the concept of love for him is very weird. And so he wants people to love him, and so to do that, like the way that the newspapers are written, and he wants to become, like, a man of the people. And so he runs for office at one point, and a scandal, like, arises, and it ends up that, you know, he doesn't become elected. But the way that it's shown is the day of the election, it goes to his newspaper company, and you have two people talking, and one holds up a newspaper that says, like, Kane wins election, and then they're like, no, looks like you can't be running that one. So he puts the newspaper down, he goes up to the other one, he holds the other one up, and it just says, Kane loses, election fraud, question mark? And it's just like, what? Like, that's a straight up, like, Simpsons gag. That's it was like, I was not expecting, like, just, that's such a clever little, like, just beat of just, like, we have a newspaper who wins and a newspaper who loses, just both ready on deck. And it's just, like, the way that it just, he holds one up, shakes the head, essentially, and he holds the next one up, and it's just like, yep, that's the one. Or there's another part. So the scandal is that he was a married man, but he ended up, like, sleeping or seeing another woman. They get divorced, he marries the other woman, and, you know, he doesn't care about politics anymore. And the woman that he's seeing, that he just, like, marries anew, she wants to become a singer. Or there's a whole thing with that where, you know, she was like, oh, I was gonna be a singer when I was younger, but now, like, does she really want it? Does she not? But Kane, you know, wanting to, like, you know, push that, like, oh, you want to become a singer? Okay, I'm gonna make you the best singer ever. And in the end, she doesn't really want to. It's just like, I'll try, I'll do it for you, I guess. And it just kind of, like, breaks apart. But, like, at the very beginning of their, like, marriage, a newspaper reporter is asking Kane, like, oh, she's a singer, right? Like, you're gonna be playing in the Grand Ole Opry eventually, right? She's like, yeah, she'll be playing in the, you know, the Grand Ole Opry. And if she doesn't, then by gosh, I'm gonna build a opera house myself. But hopefully it won't have to come to that. And then it cuts to a newspaper that says, Kane builds opera house. Just, like, the way that, like, the cuts are delivered into, like, these perfect comedy bits was something I was not expecting. And I can see why it was so revolutionary, because of that, and because there were parts where they do montages in such a unique way. When they're in his first marriage, there's a beautiful montage of Kane and his wife at the breakfast table, and it shows it like a little bit after they're married, like, where the wife is, I've never been out to a party this late. What time is it, right? And it's like maybe 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, some weird time. I don't know how parties went in the 1920s, so I can't comment on this one. But, like, it shows them, like, lovey-dovey, and then, like, it cuts next, and they're talking about, like, oh, I gotta go into work, right? You shouldn't have married a newspaper man, because I have to be working all the time. And it's like, oh, don't worry, honey, I'll be here when you get back. And then it just keeps cutting and cutting. Just, it keeps showing them at that same breakfast table, and, like, the looks that they give each other are just more and more distant, more far apart, and, like, they just, like, are losing interest. They're losing their love. They're falling out of love, effectively. And the way that it's, like, developed through this beautiful montage of just showing them at the same breakfast table at, like, effectively, like, the same time of day in the same setting, and just, like, the way that their relationship is evolving is really beautifully done. Like it's incredible, like the way that so many things that happened in the movie. It's such an iconic movie. It's the, I think we were talking about this on Monday when we were playing Melty Blood. We were talking about Seinfeld, and like the idea that Seinfeld isn't funny because nowadays things, you know, ape off Seinfeld, and so Seinfeld kind of seems like quaint. Even though I disagree, I think Seinfeld is actually pretty funny still. But like the idea that like things are aping off it, so it doesn't seem new and fresh. Like going back to Citizen Kane and looking at it, like imagine going and seeing that like in theaters, in the cinema back in like the 40s or whenever it came out. Like that blow your mind. It blew my mind watching it today because I was just like, that is so, for being Citizen Kane's like 80 years old. It was like a modern day movie in like the way it worked. It was incredible. Highly recommend that one. Seen a little bit of Seinfeld. Let's get your older bro. Have you ever done have you ever looked at the AI Seinfeld on Twitch? It's honestly, I didn't know much about Seinfeld. I watched that AI Seinfeld and I was like, oh, this is really good. Like you just put it on in the background. And then I went and I watched the actual Seinfeld and it's like, wow, AI Seinfeld actually isn't that far off. That's incredible. But obviously, real Seinfeld has a bit more structure to it, and it actually has like setup jokes instead of just like them messing with the microwave. But it's like the structure of AI Seinfeld is actually like pretty spot on. It's incredible. Yeah, it doesn't have continuity or anything because it's just AI just making whatever and throwing it out there. So because of that, it's like perfect. Like you throw that on the background while you're like editing a video or like playing a game that like you don't need to fully concentrate on. Just like something that you can like just put background information on, and you can occasionally look at it and like see the AI doing something funny. It's such a weird like piece of media, piece of content. It's kind of beautiful in a way. Because it just, the format is like time tested and true, I guess. Whether or not the content itself is like up to par, that kind of depends on the AI, the kind of the time of day, and just like how competent it wants to be. But like, it's surprising how perfectly baseline something like that can be. Is it still going? The AI Seinfeld, when it first came out, it was doing strictly what like Seinfeld was, where it had like 4 characters that were all specific rips off of Seinfeld, which had like names that were similar to the Seinfeld names, with like the same setting and everything. But at a certain point, they like cut production of it. And they brought it back up like 2, 3, 4 weeks later, like some amount of time later. And when they did that, they actually switched out the cast of characters, and they updated it to more of a modern day feel almost. Where instead of the main character like doing stand-up at a club, he's like doing a blog post now. And they changed up like the main like cast of characters. It's still pretty interesting to have on the background. Part of me misses it because I enjoyed the just like the feel of like something from the 90s. It felt so weird and throwbacky when it was aping off like 90s designs and 90s aesthetics, and like the weird like music choices that it had, right, that were supposed to be very reminiscent of Seinfeld. So with the new one, it loses that like 90s aesthetic and gets, you know, more like 2000s, 2010s like modern aesthetic, which is, it's all right. I also think they changed how the models look, if I'm not mistaken, which that also kind of, that's neither here nor there. That's a personal preference thing. But updating the style, the aesthetic of it, kind of like, again, that's a personal preference thing. But at its core, I think the basic content still works as a really weird thing you can like throw on in the background and like you just get, because it's a sitcom, like it's perfect sitcom viewing, strangely enough. But it's AI generated, and so it's all over the place. Yeah, Seinfeld's really... It's so similar to Psycho, similar to Citizen Kane. It's just like... It's one of those big watershed things that so many things... So many pieces of media just, like, ape off of, just, like... You know, that works. We're gonna take bits and pieces from this. And so when you go and like watch it, like I said, I'm watching on a Netflix right now. And just like you can just watch it and just see like, oh, I get this reference now. Oh, I get this now. Like I understand the humor. I understand where people like get their humor and where they get their certain beats from by watching this. And so like it's like media archaeology, but that feels like almost derogatory to say, because like just because it feels old to me, like it's not that old. So calling it archaeology just feels weird. And also like Seinfeld in and of itself is probably aping off of things that came before it, so calling it archaeology in that sense is just like, I don't know, it's really funny, but it's always just interesting to see like the evolution of a concept, I guess. Like where something got big, and then how things changed and how it came into what it is today. Because like it's like I Love Lucy turns into like Friends, or no, what's the one with the bar that Mork and Mindy spun off of? Cheers. Right, it's like I Love Lucy turns into Cheers, turns into Seinfeld, turns into what was turns into Everyone Hates Chris, which then becomes like The Big Bang Theory. And now we're at like what, Modern Family, I guess, is the most recent one. Oh, Frasier, that's another one. Are Frasier and Cheers like related at all? Because I'm trying to think, one like spun off of like a lot of other thing. I think Cheers came first, and then Frasier spun off of that. Yeah. Which is weird. Like Cheers came, and then Frasier spun off of that, and I think Mork and Mindy spun off of that, and like the Cheers cinematic. We were talking about the Seinfeld cinematic universe earlier. The Cheers cinematic universe is honestly the wilder one. Because it's like Cheers. Here, let me actually... Cheers spin-offs. Cheers. Control F, spin-off. Spin-offs, crossover, and cultural references. Frasier, of course. The Tortellis? What is the fuck is the Tortellis? The Tortellis is a spin-off, apparently. Never heard about that one. Was canceled after 13 episodes and drew protests for its stereotypical depictions of Italian Americans. Ooh. So those were two, and then there was also Wings? Or I guess that was a crossover. What spin-offs came from Cheers? Here we go. Tortellis, Frasier. Is Mork and Mindy not from it? Frasier's getting revived? What? But why? I know why. I know the answer. Frasier revival? Question mark. Everything to know about Paramount Plus's Frasier revival will be revived for the streaming service with original series star Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer, famous for his role in the hit 2002 X movie Money Plane. A movie about a plane that operates over international waters and does legal stuff. Incredible. The Frasier reboot is like, it's the same as like the what is it? It's the Night Court reboot or anything like that. It's just so weird, the idea to like remake stuff. I get why they do it. I just kind of wish they didn't. Because I mean, like, the old stuff's never gonna go away. Like, you can go and watch Frasier right now. So the idea that you want to, like, do something more with it is so weird. It's weird because, like, the first example of this that comes to my mind, there have been examples before of this, but, like, Scrubs kind of did this, like, immediately. Like, Scrubs, fantastic show. Went through, like, 8 seasons. Had a beautiful ending where JD, like, you know, leaves. I think that's what happens. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it. Beautiful show. And then they decide to make a new season of it, literally, like, the same year or, like, the next year. Which I think they were supposed to be, like, they wanted to make it a spinoff, but they didn't, like, they didn't have the gumption. They decided to just call it Scrubs, and I think they gave the spinoff title, like, later. But the idea that you're going to call it Scrubs still, but you're going to bring in, like, a new cast of characters, and they're going to be, like, the old cast will occasionally pop in and stuff like that. It's, like, exactly the same way, like, new reboots do. Like the Night Court reboot or, like, this Frasier reboot, where it's, like, you're going to have a new cast, they're going to have the same dynamics, and, like, occasionally the old people will come in to, like, mentor them. It's just, like, but why? You want to like go and do your own thing almost, or like spin off in such a way that it makes it fresh and new. Also, yeah, everyone being old for like the Night Court or for like the Frasier reboot and stuff like that, it's weird, and it's they're always taking on like mentor roles. It's like what happened in The Force Awakens, essentially, right? That's another, you know, the reboot thing where it's basically the same thing as A New Hope with your old cast of characters returning in, like, mentor roles. I get it. And it's not as... Honestly, for a movie, it's I can hand wave a little bit of that. Movie reboots and movie remakes aren't as egregious to me for some reason. I think it's just because, like, it's just a movie, it's just a one piece of content, whereas a series, like, because they'll do it and they'll get like one season of the series and it will like end as a cliffhanger, and it's just like a movie is one and done, sort of. Unless they add, like, one of those, like, end-credit scenes that, like, tease a cinematic universe and they never go back to it. That's kind of... But generally, like, if you soft reboot a movie, if you make it, like, a reboot of a movie, like, at least it's done when it's over. When you do it with a TV show, they always, like, they try to tease a little bit more out of it, and it just, like, makes it unsatisfying when it gets canceled because no one cares about your soft reboot. There are examples of it, like, doing kind of well, though. And I think it kind of depends on what the content is and why it's being made, too. I think the why is probably the more important part. Because something just came to my mind, which is Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is the 1990s show, originally directed by, written and directed by, created by, you know, David Lynch. Fantastic first season. During the second season, Lynch had to go off and direct Blue Velvet or some other movie that I don't remember the name of. And then because of that, like, the second season kind of goes off the rails. But Lynch comes back and he, like, wraps it up at the end of the second season with, like, a grand, like, weird episode of like cerebral, just weird television, and it just ends, and you get nothing else out of that. That's back in like 1991, and then like 25 years later, well, they made a movie too, which just added more questions because it was like a prequel movie, but it's something that Lynch wanted to do, and so like it's interesting. And then 25 years later, they're like, okay, Twin Peaks season 3, Twin Peaks: The Return is coming out. And it's like, oh, that's weird. But David Lynch was the one who originally created it, and he wanted to do it, and he had like, you know, he had an idea, he had a goal going into it. And it wasn't like a reboot for reboot's sake. It wasn't like you're making like new characters aping off old roles. In fact, it's like the exact opposite of that. Because like the old characters like come back, but they're all like in just weird and like disjointed situations, and it's just like they're not in any mentor role. Like the main character, Dale Cooper, which is fantastic in the first few seasons in the movie. He's in the movie a little bit. Kyle MacLachlan, who is of Dune, the original Dune fame. Like he's super upbeat and chipper in like the original, and in the reboot, in the Return, excuse me, like he's literally not himself for the majority of it. He is like just a really weird and like slow like person called Dougie Jones for the majority of it, because he's just lost his spark. And like it's just so like it's the anti-reboot. And it's clearly something that like Lynch probably thought like, you know what, fuck this. Either from the bottom of his heart, or someone like gave him the idea of like, hey, do you want to do a Twin Peaks reboot? And he was like, yeah, but I get to make it the way I want. And he like just made it just a twisted, sad thing for the most part. But like there's a lot of like humanity, and there's like a lot of like good human moments throughout it. But it's so like just not at all like a traditional reboot in that sense. And I think because it's something that Lynch wanted to do himself, it makes it more interesting than rebooting it just to, you know, say like, oh, I remember Frasier. Oh, I remember insert movie here. So I wish that, like, for the Frasier reboot, or for like just any reboot, it was like there was like a person with like a vision behind it. You want that writer director. You want that man or woman with like a vision behind it. People need to like tell the stories that they have inside them. And so speaking of high art, the last thing that I've seen this week, everyone's favorite, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Ended up just watching it. Went to theaters, saw it with some friends like super duper late at night. Just before you plug your ears, Daya, it's pretty good. That's my review. It's exactly what I expected out of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, so I have no complaints about it. Thank you, Daya. Oh no, it didn't work, did it? I didn't have this turned on. Shoot. I don't know if I have much to say about it anyway. Like I just said, it's just there you go, it's turned on. And then correct that. There we go. I didn't have my little additional app turned on that actually read Twitch redeems and transfer them into OBS like commands. Yeah, I don't know if I can say much about it, just because it was like, it's a Super Mario Brothers movie. It's not high art, but it wasn't trying to be high art. The comedy was exactly like I expected. I think I think the best thing about it was I'm glad that there was motivation for a lot of the characters, and there was like stakes, I guess. Like, I think that's the biggest part, is like I think it did a really good job of giving motivation to like, there was a family dynamic. I'm gonna go into spoilers now. There was like a family dynamic between the Mario brothers, Mario and Luigi, and the rest of their family, which they gave us they gave us Mama Mario and Papa Mario and the rest of the Marios, like siblings, and even like I think it was Grandma. It was either Grandma or Grandpa. I forget which one it was. Like, they gave an entire Mario extended family, and they were all like, they were like disappointed at like the Mario brothers for like trying to go off on their own and start their own plumbing business. Because the movie starts in like the real world, air quotes, and so the Mario brothers are just like real people that are trying to like become like go off on their own. They're gonna be plumbers, and at the end of like the first day, they go back home and like their parents are like chastising them for their choices, and it's just like it's a simple scene. It's very basic like characterization. It's literally like something out of Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny, right? It's like they go home, there's like the dinner scene, and then they go into their rooms, and then they like talk about it and like soliloquize and like talk about like, gee, it sure stinks that we're doing what we're doing, but we're gonna follow our dreams. We're gonna be the best thing ever. We're gonna like, as long as we're here for each other, we got it. Like, it's so simple, that setup, but it makes you like, just that simple thing of just like, they want to go off on their own, and like, even if their parents are like, you know, doubting them, they got each other. Like, the parents were saying like, oh, you're bringing your brother Luigi down with you, and Luigi comes up to Mario right when they're in the room together, and he says, no, Mario, you're not bringing me down. I'm in this with you. We're together. And just that simple scene, it shows like, it sets up like stakes between the brothers and their family of like, you know, are like, is their family gonna be there for them? Like, there's clearly a clash, you could say, and it shows that the Mario brothers themselves are like together. Just really simple stakes there and for them. And then on the opposite side, you know, you got Bowser, the bad guy, and Bowser wants to, you know, Bowser's just a bad guy. He wants to conquer things, and like, you can like hand wave like, oh, he's fighting Peach in the Mushroom Kingdom, he's fighting the Donkey Kongs. All that stuff is fine, but it's like, why does he hate Mario? Why does he care about Mario? And it's set up with you know, Mario has been hanging around Peach, and Bowser wants to, you know, marry Peach, so it's like, okay, clearly now they have conflict. And it's set up with like Bowser asking like, oh, is he cool? Is he like, you think there's something going on between them? It's extremely simple. It's not high art again, but at the end of the day, like, there is a setup with why Bowser doesn't like Mario. It's because like Mario is trying to quote unquote like steal his girl. It's like, it's so simple. It's so like, it's the simplest, like, this is the bare bones of a movie, and I'm so happy. I love seeing just the bare minimum in a movie. It's all I ever need. It's all I just want, just to like stay alive. You know, it has your montage scene of Mario becoming like strong, and he uses the power-ups. There are a lot of like, I was really happy with all the little cute like illusions. I saw Mario break into the P-Speed stance from Super Mario Bros. 3, where he puts like his arm, he basically like Naruto runs. He goes into P-Speed. Like, there's like so many little cute details like that. And then at the end, right, to wrap up your story, the Mushroom Kingdom and the real world collide, And so the Mario Brothers have to defeat Bowser to save not only the Mushroom Kingdom, but New York itself, to save the Bronx itself. And, like, obviously when they're doing it, when they're fighting the real world, they're doing it in front of their parents, in front of their family. And so they earn the respect of their family at the end. And it's just like, set up, payoff. And it's all you need. The rest of it, just filler. It's a couple funny jokes, couple funny gags there, but like, it is the most. It is a movie. It is one of the movies of all times, I think, is my official review. If you need to just kill like an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long this is. How long is this? Super Mario 2023. One hour and 32 minutes. Perfect. Perfect length for a movie. Hits right above that 90-minute mark. Doesn't stay a second longer than it needs to. You get your references, you get your little funny jokes, your little quips. You got the basic arc of a story of like the brothers need their family's respect. At the end of the day, they not only save the kingdom, they save New York, and they get their family's respect. It's just like perfect. Oh my god. I have my tea in my hand, and I was making arm gestures with it. Hold on. It spilled everywhere. Not everywhere, it wasn't that full, but my hand's wet. It was perfectly passable. Also, looking at the IMDb for it right now, the Metascore is apparently 46, which is out of 100, and that's surprisingly low. What? What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's based on 10 different reviews. What is that? Hold on. We need to break this down. We need to look into some reviews real quick. Why is this so low? Collider captures the spirit of the games, the deep history, and the incredible possibilities that these games have presented for decades. All in one of the most fun animated films in years. With a team behind it, you can feel the love of these characters and this world. 83 Collider. For any parents reading this, it may not be the best film this year, but you're going to be able to watch the Super Mario movies more than once without losing your dang mind. I agree. I think this is probably the best review I've read so far, because it feels like, obviously I'm an old man. Obviously I'm an internet boomer. I don't know if I'm an internet boomer. I'm old though. Like me going into the Mario Brothers movie is like this is clearly not my demographic. But like it works. It's a passable movie. It's like great. Go take your kids to go see it. Here's the Teen Titans Go series, apparently. Super Mario Bros. Movie is chock full of Nintendo Easter eggs to its detriment of the story and its characters, which lack any real substance. Screen rant. I mean, I think what the thing happens now is like these are the bad reviews now. These are the middling and bad reviews, and I think they're gonna be like going into it, which is fair. Like some people want a little bit more out of it, but I think like it's inoffensive. I don't think this movie steps like the line of being like I said, it had the bare bones. It had exactly what a movie needs to have. I'm trying to even think like if there was anything like egregious in the movie where I like rolled my eyes, I guess because it was fully animated. Like I was gonna say like a CGI action sequence or anything. Obviously it was entirely CGI though, so like because of that, it's like I don't know. It's faithful to the introduction. Is a faithful introduction to the Mushroom Kingdom. The second film adaptation of this phenomenally successful video game is a disappointment to rival the first. Wow, that's incredible. The film feels like it's content to check off to-do notes and scratch the viewer's nostalgia itch. That's fair. That's like I said, it basically just does the bare minimum a movie needs to do, but I don't think that's necessarily like a bad thing. It's a kids movie at the end of the day, but like I'm trying to think like what. Again, I don't think there was anything like inherently like missing from it though. The few laughs kind of die of loneliness in what is allegedly a children's animated comedy. Without laughs, all this ill-conceived animated replacement for one of the most infamous live-action flops of the 90s has to offer is nostalgia for a simple game of a simpler time. The 8 and unders this is aimed at are way too young to get that. As is often the case with a not-so-great film, I could report that I wanted to like it more than I did, but I just couldn't. Occasionally amusing, but rarely engaging. Leaves one feeling like they're standing to the side and watching someone else play a video game. That's a pretty apt review. I guess numbers aside, like these were all like 25 reviews, but like honestly, all of that seems fairly fitting. But yeah, enjoyed it. Was quite entertaining. Didn't stay longer than need to, which I think is a great boost, and just like it just hit the beats it need to without like overstaying its welcome. Perfect movie to go watch when you're bored out of your mind. I think that's basically all I have. Anyone else have anything they've seen recently? Any good movies, TV shows, etc.? If not, I can wrap with just talking Seinfeld and call it a night. Because like, as I mentioned earlier, Seinfeld is such a iconic show. It just kind of works. It just works. The way that we were talking about it on Monday when I was playing Melty Blood, and we were like joking about it, and I like turned that into a clip that I like put on the YouTube/Twitter, right? Where was what would the Seinfeld characters like? What would they main in Guilty Gear? And what was it? Costanza was gonna be Axel, and just like it's each of the characters in Seinfeld just has their own like set like. Can I find this? I wonder actually. Bokeh, Tsukomi, Moe through helplessness. Main 4-man band. I want to say this is it. Yeah, 4-man band. There it is. Okay, found it. Bokeh, wise guy. Tsukome, comparative straight man. Moe through helplessness, seemingly perfect at first glance. Like, it's the 4 main character like trope. It's perfect. And like each of the characters in Seinfeld, you know, they each hit one of those. Right? You got your wise guy, you got your comparative straight man, Moe through helplessness, and perfect at first glance. Like obviously, you know, Seinfeld is your straight man. Bokeh, you're like the one that's like making the weird schemes and like cracking the jokes and everything. That's your Costanza. Those are the main two. That's where your back and forth comes from. Moe through helplessness is of course Kramer, because like Kramer's just trying to do the best he can in this crazy little world. And then seemingly perfect at first glance is Elaine, just because you know she's got it all together. But then as you dive deeper, you know she has her roommate issues. She's trying to find a new apartment every single time, right? But she's the one that seems the most put together. So those 4 traits, those like archetypes, are just so time tested and they're just so perfect that anytime like the Costanza Seinfeld back and forth is just it can't be beat. It's just like, this is perfect. This is peak like banter. I love it. I love every second that they're like riffing off each other. Just the way that they like bounce back and forth is it's so good. I think I'm halfway through the second season right now. I think there are a total of 9 seasons, so I've got quite a ways to go. I was talking with a friend yesterday, and they kept saying like, have you seen this episode? Have you seen this episode? Have you seen this episode? And I just had to keep going like, no, no, no. Which to me just like meant that there's just a lot of more like good episodes like coming up for me, which is exciting. Like I was told like essentially like where I'm at, they haven't really hit their break. They haven't really hit their stride yet, which is really strong because like if they haven't hit their stride yet and I'm already enjoying it, then it's just gonna be like, it's just gonna be all smiles all the way down the line. It's gonna be great. Yeah, I think that's it for, you know, the movies, the shows I've seen recently. With my, I mentioned it earlier, with my now tower hooked up to my TV, oh, I get to like watch more things now. I want to finish Seinfeld first, but then once that's done, that's when we get to pop out. I want to finish Kino no Tabi. That's a really big one for me. Because I want to watch it like I like watching anime with subtitles, but I like styled subtitles, which you can't get a lot of the time unless you're on a computer. And so having a computer hooked up and being able to watch like, you know, it with styled subtitles and everything is gonna be so nice to watch that on like a big screen. Oh, I can't wait. So Seinfeld, finish that up. Kino no Tabi is a big one. From that, I don't know. I'm kind of open to like where to go from there. I'm trying to think if there was any like recommendations I had for stuff after that. Depending on how long it takes, I think Demon Slayer, the Swordsmith Village arc might come out by then. Then maybe go watch. There's a lot of like the current stuff. I don't know. I haven't. Nothing is like drawn my interest enough that I felt the need to go watch anything in the last few seasons. I think an interesting bit is just like, it comes back to like, if you have someone to talk about a show with. Because I like watching media and then like being able to discuss it. And I just haven't been on like a kick of going to like the typical like anime forums and like the subreddits and stuff like that. So I just haven't felt a need to like go and watch you know, your Oshinokos, your Bocchi the Rocks, that kind of stuff. I don't know. We'll see though, we'll see. Seinfeld, Kino, and then the world is my oyster. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I've hit all the points that I want to talk about. Let me think real quick if there's anything else. I think, oh, I need to make a schedule tonight. I'll go and do that after this is over. Is Mario Talk done? Yeah, it is. Just kind of wrapping up Dia. I need to go make my schedule for next week. Gonna do, what is it? It's gonna be Nier tomorrow, of course. We beat ending A, so now we have ending B. Ending B and C, I think, depending on what Kaharia and Silverina were saying, I might be able to get both of them tomorrow. Depending on how much I play and how long it takes to get ending B in the first place. It's gonna be fun. Monday, I think I'm doing I think, what was it, Torn Boy, I want to say? Recommended Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, so I think I started practicing it today. I don't know that much about it. I'm not a tag fighter player. I play traditional anime games. I don't play tag fighting games. But I'm gonna be strong and I'm gonna do Cross Tag Battle for Monday. That's gonna be scary. The first fighting game I've played on stream that I don't actually like consider myself good at. Tuesday Arknights, more Nier on Thursday. I don't know if I'm gonna be doing something. I think I'm free next Saturday. Do I want to do? I think I'm free next Saturday, so I'm gonna do something next Saturday. I don't think I'm free on Wednesday, so I'm not gonna do anything on Wednesday. Those are the 2 days that are always up in the air, Wednesday and Saturday, for me. I don't know if I want to do my Sudoku yet. I think I'm gonna wait. I want to do a Sudoku stream. I want to do a learn how to play Sudoku stream. I don't think that's gonna be this week though. I think it's gonna be the following week. Cause I want to do it on a Wednesday if I can. I don't know why. I feel like Wednesday would be a fun day to do it. You loasted? Oh hell yeah! Hell yeah, Daya! Come in the newspaper when you were little. Nice. Do you know all the tips and tricks? Have you kept up with it at all? Do you go to like Sudoku.com? My granddad taught me how to do them. Aww. Oh, that's adorable. That's so sweet. I don't know what did it recently. I think it just popped up on my YouTube recommendation one time. It was a it's the YouTube channel Cracking the Cryptic, where I guess they do a lot of Sudoku and like puzzle stuff like that. I think they've done Wordle a little bit too. And it was just like one of those like Sudokus where there's only like one number, but it's like a lot of like specific rule sets going into it. So it's very like weird and complicated in a certain way, which isn't like a normal Sudoku. But seeing that like reignited like oh, I like Sudoku. I like puzzles like this. And so I like looked up and like there's just a place called like Sudoku.com. And so I've been using like that, and like I like going through the harder difficulty ones there, or like Killer Sudokus. That's the other one. Yeah, like it's one number, but then there's a lot of like additional rules. Like not only is it column, row, and box, but also like every diagonal is also unique. Or like, you know, every this or that or the other thing has to be like this, that, and that. Like it's so complicated, but like they're able to break it down and like fill it out, and they usually come out to be, because the way that they're set up is so specific that it usually comes into like a really like cool looking pattern at the end. Don't know many tricks, so it takes a while, but I was taught the rules. So like to logic and figure tricks out. Yeah, it's really simple, like at the base level. When you start getting like the harder ones, you have to like start whipping out like the, oh, what is it, like the X-wing, the XY wing, sword fishing, all these like really weird ones. Some of them like I learned of some of these tricks after the fact, and I was like, oh, I was already doing that. Just because it's like what you like do, you just logic it out, and it's like, oh no, that makes sense, and then you find out, oh, that's apparently what an X-wing is. Like the idea that, oh, if these two numbers are here and these two numbers are here, then that means this number has to be this, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've never done any of the like weirder ones, like in the cracking the cryptic video. I mostly stick with the original one or Killer Sudoku, which is it's interesting. It's actually not that hard at all once you understand the premise. If you're ever bored, I definitely recommend going to Sudoku.com. And yeah, you can just do easy, medium, hard, expert, evil. I do expert typically. I don't do evil. Evil is actually hard. But you can also do killers, which are there are the same rules about boxes, rows, and columns, but then also there are sub boxes that have to add up to a certain number that it shows you in the box. So like if you have a small box that has like 10 as the number, and there's a blank spot and a 3, then like, oh, you know that has to be a 7. Like just tiny little things like that. Killers are a very they're honestly like easy and medium killer Sudokus are actually pretty easy. They can arguably easier than their classic Sudoku counterparts, just because like there are so many more ways that you can solve for what number goes where. I think it's really fun with like expert killer Sudokus though. Because if you ever look at like, if you go to and you go to like an expert killer Sudoku, that's where you get no numbers at all. It's all just blanks. So you have blank boxes, rows, columns, but then the sub boxes are where you have to like determine where the numbers go via like all these different tricks about like, oh, well, I know that a box, all the numbers in a box add up to 45. And then if I count up the number of sub boxes in here and they add up to more than 45, then I take the difference of that, and then I know the bits that go outside the boxes have to equal like the difference. Like all these little like weird tips and tricks and stuff like that. Which is I think what I would go over in my how to play Sudoku video. It's just I don't know, just it's a weird piece of content that I've had in like my back pocket as something I want to do for a bit. Could be fun. What about you, Dai? You're making a schedule for next week too, I assume? You have anything fun? You have anything exciting? Picross! I keep hearing about Picross. I've never done it myself. That's a lie. I might have done it like, I think we did it like once or twice in like a high school level math class as like something that like the teacher would give out when like they're sick and it's like, do this as busy work. There's just there's like websites for Picross. Oh shit. 2 1 1 2. Oh, this is cool. Yeah, Picross is cool. I like those like little simple logic puzzle things. Oh, that's neat. I'll do a Sudoku, how to play Sudoku stream. You should do a how to do Picross stream sometime in the future. There was a Mario one. That sounds familiar. There's a Miku Picross, isn't there? I want to say there's a Miku one for like Switch or something like that too. Yeah, Nier, BB Tag, Arknights, and then something on Saturday. I need to think about that. If I'm not gonna do Sudoku, I do want to do something on Saturday. I might just do Factorio. Honestly, yeah, I'll probably just do Factorio. Is probably my go-to if I don't have anything planned, because I can just pick that up, play it for like a couple hours. I have that base that I started last Sunday, I want to say, that I haven't touched, because I just want to that's just for stream. So yeah, yeah, you know what? Let me double check. Do I have any? I have a list of stuff. Let me look at my big book of stream ideas. I want to do more manga study at some point in the future, but I think I'm gonna wait for that one. We did it last Saturday. That was really fun. We did Izatsu today. And then, yeah, I think we'll do Factorio next Saturday. And then we'll do Sudoku the following, like, Wednesday or the following Saturday. And then after that, maybe do more manga study. Something like that. Yeah, that sounds good. Close that. Keep this tab up because this has Carrie on it, and I want to see what Carrie's streaming on later. You're more organized than I am. Thank you. I try to keep things organized. People always say that about me. I don't know if I agree with it. I think I just come off as more organized. You keep the behind the scenes stuff behind the scenes, and people think you're organized. It's not about it's all about presentation. You make them think you're organized and you're doing great. Never let them see you sweat. Yeah, with that, it looks like it's gonna be time for me to go and fire up Photoshop and go make my schedule. Don't think I have anything else. Good discussion, good movies. Do this again sometime. But yeah. Nice stream. Thank you, Daya. Thank you for watching. And everyone, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to catch you next time. Peace out, crew. Sorry, Joe. I hit the end stream button and it's gonna close and like, it's automated.